Hi everybody. So we begin our second week in proofreading and editing, and we're going to be focusing this week on keyboarding errors, and that's chapter 2. I'm going to go ahead and try to use the PowerPoint as a guide so that I won't forget to tell you anything. And so I'm going to move over to the first slide. And it's the introduction slide, and it's talking about as you're using Word that you will be using spell checker in Word, of course, and your spell check, is automatic usually if you've got it turned on, and it will catch a lot of things, but it won't catch everything. So when you're using it, understand that you still need to employ your own proofreading techniques, such as going through, using your mouse, kind of going word by word by word, making sure that you've got it. Because things like here in the fourth bullet, the spell checker is not going to recognize homophones, such as to versus two. And if you want to get even further confused, we have TWO. So that the spell check's not going to find it. If you spelled the word and the word is a correct type of spelling, it's not going to interpret that it's the wrong word for the sentence. So that has to be your job. Okay. Looking further, some of the more common types of things that you do when you're typing fast is things like this, typing B-R-O-A-D instead of B-O-A-R-D. Same letters, but transposed. Still create a word, but the word is not correct. So do be careful of that kind of error. Now, if you were a proofreader and you were using the proofreading mark to identify that type of an error, it looks like this. This is the transpose mark. And you'll see there's 3 different examples of how it's being used. So handle, noon. This is transposed because the period should be before the quotation marks. And then these 2 words are reversed. It should say the report is due on Monday. Let's look at the next one. So added copy errors occur when we type too many letters, repeated letters, or we put too many spaces in something, or we put the punctuation mark in front or in back of where it really should be. One of the examples it uses here is when you're writing a sentence, you might start the sentence with the end of the line, and you put the end of the line, so you have a duplicated word, the word the in the beginning. That's a pretty common thing that I do sometimes. And then also extra letters added into words with producing double letters that aren't supposed to be there. Here's a great example, words that might appear correct but are not because it's been pluralized when it should not have been. For example, the word office ends with an S. Well, it's only offices if there's more than one. So putting that S on there, even accidentally, creates a different meaning for the word. And then you have please. Now, both of these are actual words. Please, P-L-E-A-S, is a polite way to sort of request something. And P-L-E-A-S is akin to begging. Or it could be the multiple or the plural version of, you might have a court pleading and they call it a plea, and if there's more than one, it would be please. But it wouldn't be the same as please pass the potatoes. Okay. Numbers repeated in a list. This is a common thing to do when you're putting a column of numbers in, and then sometimes you'll put a duplicate, kind of the same way that I would put the 2 thes at the beginning of a sentence. It's easy to go ahead and repeat numbers that you really don't mean to. So, and if you're going to be the proofreader and find that kind of error in someone else's copy, then you're going to use the deletion symbol, and there's a couple of them that are used for the similar purposes. One is the delete or omit copy, and it looks like this little guy up here, and you kind of watch my mouse, the way to write it on the page looks like go around and then up. So you go around and up. And then the other one is to close the space. And that would be here's the example of the delete or omit copy. Purchase your supplies in Boston. Well, there's two R's there. One shouldn't be there. Close up the space would be using sort of kind of horizontal parentheses. Hire 4 new employees, and you've got an extra E stuck in the middle of the word, so you're going to indicate that you're going to get rid of the E using this, and then you're going to close up that space, which is here. And it should then look like this. Now, of course, we use the computers, and that's going to look different in track changes, which when we move through the course, I will show you that as well, but not in this chapter. So the next slide would be incorrect letters, meaning that it's just plain a misstroke. Misstrokes occur in incorrect words or correct words that are not being used in the right context. So quarantine instead of guarantee. And then instead of them. I also see then and than being used in the wrong context. So you're going to use a straight diagonal line to mark through a misstroke and then write the correct letter above the misstroke, and it's going to look like this. So just change the letter. It was a good opportunity. Well, that should be O, not E. So we're going to just put a slash through the E, put the O above it. Boom, we're done. Okay. And then omitted copy errors. So omissions, that would be meaning that something should be there, but it's not. So here it says, occurs when a space, a character, a word, or a sentence is left out of a document. So, and by omitting things, you know, it can completely change the meaning of a sentence. For instance, if I say, if what I mean to say is, please don't take the candy off my desk, and I forget to put the word don't in there, please take the candy off my desk, well then those are completely two different things. One of them is don't do it, and one of them is do it, and just one missing word makes all the difference. So that would be an omission. And the way to sort of identify that using proofreader marks would be to insert a space, looks like a little bit of a number sign, and then insert copy would be a little, I call it a caret, but it's sort of a little arrow that's vertical instead of horizontal. So, and you can see this PowerPoint is also in the lessons of your Angel folder or your Angel website, so you can go back and review this if you want to. All right, for the next slide, we'll talk about a little bit of a quiz and to correct the following keyboarding errors. So I look forward to meeting you would be I look forward, and so we're using that original symbol that we were going to use for transposition. I look forward to meeting you. We can accommodate 4 riders in the van, and I don't believe the word accommodate should have 3 M's right in the middle of it. 2 is plenty, so we're going to use the symbol to get rid of one of the M's and then the horizontal kind of parentheses to close up the space. O, comma, for a mule of fire. O for a muse of fire. So we're not looking for a mule of fire, we're looking for a muse of fire. So that's a simple misspelling. Cross out the L, put the S above it. We are pleased, or we're pleased to accept your order for additional units. And of course we want that to say we are, or we're, but it looks like we are is going to be the acceptable. So insert that space. Please to accept the upward kind of horizontal caret to put the word to in there. So very good. Numerical errors, accuracy of numbers. Oh wow, I mean you can't get any more important than getting numbers right, especially in business reports. It can make all the difference in the world. So accuracy of numbers is extremely important because many decisions are based on that. Whether or not we can move forward with a project, whether or not we can afford to give employee raises, whether or not we can, or just showing up that we have spent money in the right areas. We want to make sure that we're having accuracy and transparency in where our money is going. So numerical errors can include, it could be a mistake in a date. It could be the wrong amount of money being represented. It could be the wrong percentage. It could be bad telephone numbers. Wow, that is not good, especially if it's customers. Social security numbers, statistical copies. The transposition of numbers is probably one of the most common ways to get numbers wrong. So instead of saying 7,600, you say 6,700. Wow, big difference. Really big difference. 9,000 or 900. So errors within listed items occur frequently also. Remember I told you earlier about listing a number twice that you really only need to have one time. That can, especially when it's being putting on lines, rows in say an Excel spreadsheet and that number matches up to the wrong data on the left or the right. So it looks like our final slide, number 13, spelling and word usage. Misspellings are distracting to your reader, and I have to tell you, they are embarrassing. I'm not sure that everybody is like me in the business world, but I can tell you that there are lots of people like me. And I'll tell you the real problem with receiving any type of collateral, a business letter, a business document, a brochure, even advertisements that I get in the mail. If I see a misspelling of any kind, I start questioning the validity of the sender. Is that a viable company? Is that a real company? Should we be doing business with these people? It makes me question whether or not they're honest. It makes me question whether or not they're competent. And of course, one business doesn't want to do business with another business that's not competent. Well, that was a lot of businesses in one sentence. Sorry about that. So learning to recognize misspellings is critical to being a good proofreader. Before your company ever sends something out, they should have someone who is good at being able to identify and correct errors. So you want to make sure that if you're going into business, not even as an admin, but especially as an admin, you need to be on top of your game when it comes to spelling, punctuation, grammar, all of that. And you may be the person in the office that everyone's depending on for that. I say this to almost every class that I teach, and that is this. Particularly if you're in a smaller company, you, as the admin assistant, as the office support, may well be the most literate person in the company. And that's a good thing. You should want to be that go-to person that people come to and say, hey, does this look okay? Hey, is this right? Can you look this over and make sure I haven't made any errors? You want to be that go-to person because that makes you fairly indispensable. And that's a good spot to be when you're in business. So follow the guidelines that are listed in your chapter. Be careful, be slow, be methodical as you're trying to spot and correct errors. That kind of wraps up what we're talking about in Chapter 2. If you will check the calendar, you will see some new assignments for you. The Chapter 2 in your textbook is somewhere around page 9 or 10 to begin with, and it goes all the way through page 20. I'm trying to see if I can get to the very end here. Page 26, I believe. So there'll be a few exercises for Chapter 2, and there'll also be the Chapter 2 test. Take your time, do a great job, and have a great week. Bye-bye.